Let's move on and talk about the big stories of the day. If you are just waking up this morning, we're talking about the volatility around the world. President Putin this morning, this is according to news sources, says Russia has a stock of powerful new missiles ready to be used, according to Putin. This is a day after the country fired a new ballistic missile at the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. The Russian leader said the Oreshnik missile could not be intercepted. He promised to carry out more tests, including in combat conditions. Of course, we've seen escalation here in terms of rhetoric and the use of weapons. And the question is, how safe and secure are we? There's a big headline about the UK being involved and the fact that missiles could now reach the United Kingdom. Joining me now is Anthony Glees, Professor of Security and Intelligence Studies at the University of Buckingham. Good morning to you.
Good morning, David.
Well, really good to see you. Thanks ever so much for coming on. So we've got Putin here, the ramping up of the rhetoric. One of the newspapers this morning talking about the UK is in the firing line for Russian missiles. But also, this is all based on the fact that President Biden is outgoing. We've got Donald Trump coming in as well. There is this period of time, this interim period where there is change taking place. What is your reading of Russia's use of these missiles and also the way that Putin is now talking to the Russian public and also ramping up the rhetoric?
Well, the use of these missiles is serious, and it's serious for the reason that Putin gave, that they travel so fast that they clearly are impossible to intercept as far as we can tell. Certainly, Putin believes that. He's also saying something else significant about these weapons. It's not just that they're intermediate range. At first, people thought in Ukraine they'd been hit by an intercontinental ballistic missile, but that was quickly disproved, and there would be no point in using an intercontinental ballistic missile to hit a country so close to Russia. No, it's a new missile, and it fires conventional warheads. So it stays within the rules that Putin has established, that his aggressive war against Ukraine is a conventional war. It's not a nuclear war. But as Putin says, this new weapon, Oreshnik, is so powerful that it packs the same punch as a theater, lesser nuclear weapon. And that, if it can't be stopped, and it is as powerful as a theater nuclear weapon, that is highly dangerous for Ukraine, but not only for Ukraine. It is highly dangerous for all those post-1997 NATO countries. We're talking about Poland here. We're talking about the Baltic republics. We're talking about Scandinavian states who joined NATO because Putin has said he wants them out of NATO. So Putin has established a kind of system of rules where he gets whatever he wants, he uses whatever forces he wants to take a sovereign country, and if we try and oppose him in any way, he presses the escalation button. Now, that's highly dangerous, and if you take the long view of this, it reminds not only of the Second World War, where Hitler demanded this, that, and the other. We gave him it, and he took it all the same and took even more. But also the First World War, where we, against the Germans, tried to outbid each other with ever more terrifying weapons. That didn't end well either. So I think we have reached really a watershed. We need to decide if Putin essentially is bluffing, or if he is really off his trolley and is prepared to take us all to war in a matter of weeks. I think he is just threatening us, and the way you deal with somebody who threatens you is to stand firm. You double down, as our defense secretary said the other day in the Commons. We double down, we do what we're doing, and we try and deny him any kind of a victory in Ukraine. But it's very tough days.
Yeah, Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, has also said the war is entering a decisive stage with a real risk of global conflict. Also, the ambassador has said that Britain is now directly involved in the Ukraine war. This is after, of course, President Biden allowed the ATACMS missiles to be used, and then, of course, the Storm Shadow missiles, which are produced, or the UK missiles. Now, just in terms of that, Andrei Kelin warned the West to carefully consider this low bar. This is because Putin has also changed the nuclear protocols, which happened last week. As you say, the question is whether you stand up to him and say enough is enough, or you cede territory, or Ukrainian territory, to Putin. And then what happens when Trump gets in?
Well, we actually know what Trump wants, not just from him, but also from his advisors. And as always with Donald J. Trump, we sort of calmed ourselves in the past by saying we need to listen seriously to what he says, but we should not take him literally. Now, I think in 2025, it's going to be different. We do need to take him literally. And what he has said is he will bring peace in 24 hours. Now, whether it is 24 hours or not, what he means by that is he will impose a deal on Ukraine. He will force Ukraine to cede territory, Crimea and the 4 regions in eastern Ukraine. And in return, Trump says, he will allow the Ukrainians to be sovereign. However, for 25 years, they must not be part of NATO. That is going to be the deal that Trump puts on the table. The problem with that deal is it rewards Putin. It rewards Putin for what he's been doing for more than 1,000 days now, for all the killing, all the murder and the terror and the horror he has unleashed upon the people of Ukraine, as well as having almost 1 million of his own people out of combat, either killed or wounded. I mean, he had been an appalling and horrifying leader of Russia. So giving him a win, that's bad. And yes, it might bring peace to Ukraine for a few years even. But ultimately, Putin wants all of Ukraine. He's got form here. He can't wait to get his hands on Zelensky. So I repeat, we need to double down. We need to be stronger. That we need that 2.5% spending on our defense. And we need to note that Putin is playing around with conventional defense. This isn't going to be a nuclear conflict. It will be a conventional conflict. And Sakir has got to rise to the challenge now of boosting our conventional forces and doing it PDQ, because the world is on a knife edge, and Europe in particular. The attitude of the German Chancellor, of course, who tried to call Putin to soothe him, immediately leading to another barrage on Ukraine, has further deteriorated. Scholz has said, you know, it's got to be peace at any price. History teaches peace at any price means victory for the aggressor and victory for somebody who does not believe in our values or our way of life. So this is a real wake-up warning now. We've got to be strong. To be free, you've got to be strong. No two ways about it.
Do you think we have the leadership in this country? Keir Starmer says we're going to try to get to 2.3, 2.5% of GDP. At the same time, though, £500 million of defence cuts. That seems to be an anathema.
Well, I think we've got to rethink our defence strategy very quickly in this country. I think our defence secretary is a very sound man, John Healey. He says things that I don't vote for them, but he says things that people like me certainly disagree with. But we also need to reconsider the budget. We need to reconsider, because of our values, what we really want to put our money into. We got, 40 billion, we're told, of spending cash. Surely there's no question that a lot of that money now needs to go to building up our conventional forces. It can't be done overnight, but if Ukraine becomes neutral, which is what Trump wants, and if NATO becomes less powerful, because Trump wants that too, then we in the United Kingdom need to step up to the plate here. And I do think it's very important to stress there are lots of things government can do. There's lovely, rent control, NHS reform, all these things, marvelous. But the one thing that every government has to put at the top of its to-do list is defend our security. No government that lets us be defenseless will be worth revoting for. So Sir Keir has got to understand that he's got to focus now on making this country strong, and strong to resist conventional war in Europe, and to say to the bully, Putin is a pathological bully, to say to him, look, the way we deal with bullies is by resisting them. If you say yes to a bully, he comes back at you again. Putin is a coward. There is no doubt about that. He is restrained by our nuclear defenses. They, too, need to be in good working order, like our more conventional armed forces. So this is a huge challenge. Now, I myself, again, didn't vote for him, but I think Sir Keir has done a good job. And on the world stage, he is presenting as a leader, probably the most stable leader at the moment. Germany is completely in disarray because of the shilly-shallying policy of Chancellor Scholz. President Macron is also on a somewhat uncertain ground. It's the UK. We've been the leader in the past. We were the leader in 1914. We were the leader in 1939-40. It may well be up to us to be the leader again now.
Very good to talk to you, Anthony Glees there, Professor of Security and Intelligence Studies at the University of Buckingham.